Guys, hold on. See if my volume's high enough. Oh, hey guys. Welcome back to Jetalogical What Is. I know it's been a month. Yes, it's been way too long. I only needed to take a break for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, that's my bad. I That's not even acceptable. Shouldn't be. After all, I started this because I wanted people to see my videos and I wanted to see what I could do compared to the other what ifers. But anyway, I'm not getting into that. Let's start off back at, well, where I left off, which I believe was pretty sure after when they were fighting the two demon brothers. Anyway, they're fighting the demon brothers, and, well, Naruto, Sasuke, I believe Sakura is on the team too, because I wanted to keep things simple like that. Anyway, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Naruto was, I believe he was scouting from the trees or something. And he took down one of the twins already, or something like that. I don't remember. I'm just gonna redo this part, okay? So, because I know I didn't understand me, so you guys probably didn't either. I was half asleep when I was talking about that. So, they get the mission, they're walking out. Naruto is be in the trees because he knows how, he knows how to keep himself hidden. He'd leave a clone on the ground. Kakashi would Kakashi would know he wasn't on the ground, but he wouldn't mind it because he knew Naruto was just different from the rest of the ninja. As in, he's smarter than the rest of the ninja. Pretty sure. I don't remember if I made him an Anbu, but just because I want him to have been an Anbu, so he's gonna be a bit colder in this. So yeah, Naruto would have been an Anbu. He would have been a bit colder. He would have been smarter, and he would have been more precise in his kills. So he'd have no problem killing anyone. He wouldn't be so absent-minded or stupid. So yeah, Naruto. Well, Naruto would just be colder. He'd essentially be like the Nine Tails, but not as violent, more controlled, and less likely to just yell at you. I don't remember a character I would describe him to be like, so I'll just continue. Naruto's in the trees. He already knows the puddle. Kakashi knows the puddle. Sasuke would. I don't think. No, he would not have noticed the puddle yet because he isn't paying attention to it. Well, he wouldn't. No, he would have noticed the puddle too. It would just be Sakura and Tazuna. Naruto's clone would already know what to do. So the moment the two demon brothers jump out, he'd move Tazuna out of the way, and then he'd essentially go after. Well, you know, Naruto in the tree, he'd instantly just headshot one of the two demon brothers, and Sasuke would take care of the other one. Though the second one isn't dead yet, so Kakashi would interrogate him as a canon. Naruto would not reveal himself, so he'd still be in the tree, and his clone would still be on the ground. So Sasuke does not know that Naruto's in the tree. Zabuza and Haku do not know that Naruto's in the tree. They think his clone is Naruto, because why wouldn't they? As they continue to walk, Zabuza and Haku would have been watching this whole thing, but they had no clue what happened to the first demon brother. They just assumed it was a kunai or something from Kakashi. So they just kept on going. Anyway, well, they wouldn't continue going normally. Zabuza and Haku wouldn't. They take a bit more caution, seeing as they couldn't see what actually killed the first demon brother. So, I know my voice sounds a bit dull, or at least it normally does when I speak. I don't try to make it that way. It's just how I talk. If I have to talk for a really long period of time, I just talk this way because it's easier than making myself louder, then quieter, then louder, then quieter, over and over again. So that's my bad. Well, my apologies or whatever. Anyway, well, Zabuza, Haku are kind of just scouting out. Zabuza still does this thing with the rabbit, except it isn't Naruto. It's Sasuke who throws the kunai, because Naruto already knew that he would just substitute with a rabbit because it's the best thing to do. Instead, Naruto, well, actual Naruto, would be looking over towards Zabuza actually teleported, and clone Naruto would play along with Sakura and Sasuke. Kakashi would already know. He'd explain this to them, and they continue on. But, well, they'd walk over to. What am I talking? Okay, so they'd go to the same place. Well, no, Zabuza would throw a sword, and he'd land on it like a cannon. Naruto would have already moved Tazano. Kakashi would have pushed down Sakura, and Sasuke would have ducked on his own because he's smart enough to do that. As the sword would hit the tree, Zabuza would land on it. Same thing would happen as in canon. Except except Haku wouldn't just be watching this fight. He would actually be running. Hold on. I remember reading comments about ships, and I would actually debate what. I do read my comment section. I'm not really sure how you guys wouldn't know that, seeing that I talk about it every video. But I need to stop getting off topic, so I'm gonna keep going. So yeah, Naruto would Naruto would actually be playing with Haku essentially, making him move around so he couldn't help Zabuza if he actually needed it. So, and clone Naruto would do the same thing as in canon. As well, him and Sasuke would do the same thing to free Kakashi out of the water prison. And this time, when, Kakashi was about to use the Chidori on Zabuza, Haku would be there to save him, but he wouldn't have time to put the mask on or anything, because by this point, he would have fallen off because of all the dodging he had to do at such high speeds and things like that. So the mask would have fallen off, and he would have still put up his Anbu act, not realizing the mask was off, and he would be figured out instantly. As Naruto in the tree, he would sit back and let this fight happen because, well, he'd sit back and let this happen because he knew by this point that Sasuke could handle Haku because Haku was incredibly tired, and his clone could easily just knock out Zabuza or something. So Sasuke would still take him a bit of effort. He'd actually be able to knock out Haku, but he wouldn't be able to kill him. And Kakashi would finish off Zabuza with a Chidori. As they take Haku with them, because he has a Kekkei Genkai that could be useful for the leaf and everything. There's no convincing speech in this one, though. Haku isn't going to be a prisoner. It's more of just going to be there because he has nowhere else to go. So Haku will just stay with them. And since it was ultimately Naruto who actually caused all this, he would just stay with Naruto. Yes, no, not she. No, we're not doing that. I'm gonna make this more of a servant type role instead of a ship type thing. Anyway, Naruto, after all that happened, he'd finally jump out the tree, and his clone would just disperse. And Naruto would he just kind of fall into place with his clone, so nobody actually figured out that Naruto was just a clone other than Kakashi. So they just continue on. They go to the house. Not they do the same. Okay, let me think a minute because I need to remember the order of the things that happened at Sasuke's house. Because I never actually had that down clearly because I had so many weird flashbacks and forths and things like that, and I don't remember the arc clearly. So anyway, okay. So first off, they go to the house. They well, hold on. They go into the house. They Inari does his well, Sasuke's daughter hugs him and does all the normal stuff in the canon. They're carrying Haku and Kakashi, by the way, so they put both of them in their own separate rooms, and they rest up for the day. That night, Inari does the same thing where he does his stupid speech and all that. Then when Haku recovers, he's a bit scared at first, tries to attack them, but Naruto just pistol whips him and knocks him out again. So he's out again. Kakashi wakes up the next day, and Sasuke and Sakura do the same training. Naruto doesn't eat it because he was an Anbu. So yeah. Now, now Haku wakes up, and this time he isn't gonna be as irrational as last time. So Naruto doesn't have to knock him out again. Instead, Naruto explains what happened. Haku is sad at first because who wouldn't be? Zabuza saved his life and gave him a better one. So Haku was a bit sad at first, but he decides to stay with Naruto because if you think about it, it was Naruto who defeated his master. So he decided to make Naruto his new master. That's just really how it would go. So essentially, Haku was kind of like Naruto's bodyguard, but not bodyguard because he doesn't need one. It's more of just assistant, kind of like how Shizune is to Tsunade. She's just her assistant or attendant, whatever you call it. Anyway, now Naruto. Well, Haku goes wherever Naruto goes, so and Gato would decide to hire another ninja. Well, hire another one of the seven legendary swordsmen. I don't remember what his name was, but he was in a filler arc of the original Naruto. He was the guy with the two lightning swords, I believe. I forgot his name. And he has that kid in his like backpack or something that can like read the future or something like that. It was a weird thing. Like the kid, he could read the future, or like he could read the slight future and predict people's attacks, so nobody could ever actually hit him, and he just killed his opponents. Gato hired that guy. There was a whole mission about it where Lee and the ramen of like life or something, kind of like I don't know what they put in that ramen though. It was something else. But anyway, well, they hired that guy. He had the swords had a weird ability of attracting lightning wherever they went and stuff. So yeah, Gato hired that guy. It's to take Zabuza's place. So yeah, they went to the bridge. Well, the bridge would still be. They would still be on the bridge, and Kakashi would have a much tougher time because this person used the same element that he does, which Zabuza's primary element was water. So Kakashi had an advantage because water and electricity. If you're a water user, you get electrocuted, it's not going to be good for you. But if you're an electricity user and you get electrocuted, it's not much is going to happen. So, yeah, Kakashi would have an incredibly tough time with this person because he was stronger than Zabuza and he could predict his attacks. Even though it was just him, the kid doesn't fight, he just warns him of whatever is going to happen. I'm not sure if that kid was a he or she. I cannot remember. But anyway, they start to fight. Kakashi would have to use his kunai because he does have two swords. And Kakashi cannot do anything with just hand to hand against two swords, especially not when they're amplified by lightning. Because I think he can attract lightning to a sword. It's kind of its special ability, kind of like how Zabuza's can regenerate itself with the blood of its enemies. So, and speaking of the Executioner's Blade, I'm gonna say Sasuke took it. No, I'm gonna say Kakashi took it because that's just better. So Kakashi would actually be using Executioner's Blade, though he'd be at a disadvantage because with two swords you can attack much faster than with a long sword like the Executioner's Blade. So he'd be at a disadvantage. They'd both amplify their swords with lightning. They'd still be around equal. Sasuke would not be able to do anything because the lightning in the area would just be too powerful for him. The thugs would still try to attack, well, Tasuno's house. Haku would be around the house helping because Naruto was asleep. So he'd take care of the thugs. Then he'd tell Naruto. Well, he'd wake Naruto up and tell him what happened. As Naruto would just decide to go to the bridge, but he wouldn't go to the bridge as in they'd know he's there. He'd kind of just set up a post near the bridge and decide to start taking out targets. So he'd take out a standard, well, I'll say he'd take out a Barrett because I like Barretts. They're good guns. They're nice and reliable. He'd take out a Barrett and he'd begin shooting near near the double lightning sword guard to distract him, so Kakashi could, well, finish him off. Though he isn't falling for it, so Naruto would just begin taking shots at his shin, so he can't move. As he began to deflect and dodge them, because lightning amplifies your reflexes. And so he began dodging. Naruto would think this is a perfect opportunity, so he'd begin to use chakra to amplify his bullets. So, because this guy just kept blocking and blocking and dodging his bullets, he'd actually use wind chakra to increase the piercing power so he can't block him anymore, and to increase the speed so he can't dodge him anymore. So he'd shoot a wind amplified bullet at his shins as he'd try to block it, but it punch a hole straight through his sword and hit him in the shin. So he'd lose balance and Kakashi would finish him off. So, yeah, he'd flop over. Well, he'd die. The kid in the back would fall out. Well, the kid in the backpack would fall out. Yes, it would just be kind of scared. As well, Haku would just walk over, kind of convince him to just stay with Naruto. So Naruto kind of has his own little like family now. So yeah, they're both. I'm pretty sure they're both people who Yagura tried to hunt down both their clans were, and they were the last members of their clans. So yeah, they stay with Naruto now, and they serve him now, essentially. Although one of them is only like 8, and Haku's like 17. So yeah, Naruto. Well, Gato's thugs would still attack. Naruto would think of this as, well, another opportunity because he never actually got to use it before. Let's he check out an RPG. So he check out an RPG and he'd tell everyone to stand back. As the thugs would look at, well, this strange weapon, and they think, what's a tiny thing like that gonna do to all of us? Will do to all of us? As they just sit there, try to take it, and well, Naruto would fire it. One sec, I'm just checking the time. Anyway, Naruto would fire it, and well, it'd blow up half the thugs, as they'd be scared because they had no clue what that was, and as they don't know what jutsu are, and they definitely don't know what guns are. So they just, well, the other half would try to run away, but Kakashi, Haku, and the others would just mow them down. Though Kakashi is pretty tired by this point. So, yeah, until we get to Gato. Naruto would just toss him to the villagers and they deal with him. I know I'm going through this pretty fast, but I've got no reason to slow down here. Also, I need to start making my videos shorter, or at least speed them up slightly, because I keep falling asleep during recording. I did during the last video, and it annoys me a lot. I hate doing it. Because when I go back to look and see where I am to do the next part, because I don't do this all in script, I do this all out of my head. So whenever I go back, I can't understand the word I'm saying. The only reason I understood this part is because I remember twins. And there's only one set of twins in the original Naruto series that I can remember. Well, at least that actually matters. And that is the Demon Brothers. Anyway. And anyway, they come back. The third Hokage, the third Hokage, and the third Hokage is told about these two people. By the way, Naruto will use the two blades for the bounty on his head, and Gashi would just keep the executioner's blade. So Naruto got some money from the bounty, and that's two members of the seven ninja swordsmen. That's two of them down. There's still Kisame and some of the others. I don't remember the rest of them. But anyway, they continue on and onto the prep time before the tuning exams. Well, we first encounter Gaara, Tamari, and Kankura. Because Konohamaru would still be running through the streets. Naruto would still know Konohamaru because he did have a good relationship with the third Hokage, despite what Danzo would say to him. Because he knows Danzo, most of what Danzo says are lies, so he decided to just talk to the third himself. Anyway, Naruto would be walking through the village when Konohamaru, instead of using that weird box and whatever that cover thing was, Seeing as Naruto would have actually trained him, he would be using a transformation. So he just looked like a regular villager walking behind Naruto, less suspiciously than, well, he was with that stupid box. So Naruto would know it's going to harm him because he can sense his chakra, but he decides to play along with it as he's walking through the village with Sakura because Kashi told them to meet up. Anyway, I did forget to do the rebuilding the bridge part. Well, you already know what would happen. They just rebuilt the bridge. But anyway, he was walking through the village with Sakura. Konohamaru, well, Naruto would just go with it until Sakura would point out that a strange villager has been following them because even though Naruto trained him, Konohamaru still isn't the best at anything when he's 4. I think he was either 4 or 6. I don't remember. But yeah, so Naruto would just say, "Yeah, I know." As he tell Konohamaru to come out, as Konohamaru would come out of the transformation, as he'd say, as he asked Naruto, "How do you know?" And Naruto said, "I could sense your chakra. You were there the whole. I could tell you were there the whole time." As Konohamaru would just get a little mad at the scene, he'd ask Naruto if that was his girlfriend, like in canon. As he'd still make the same joke, and then fellow Sakura would chase him. He'd run into Kankuro, but seeing as he would be stronger, he'd actually manage to punch Kankuro, as it actually hurt him a bit, like a small amount. Kind of like how. So if a 5-year-old were to punch you in the stomach and you weren't prepared for it at all, it'd kind of feel like that. But it didn't actually hurt it, more just winded him a bit. Then he does the same thing as in canon. Naruto walks over and tells him to let him go. Kankuro says, "Oh yeah, what are you gonna do about it?" Naruto pulls out a Glock and points it at his forehead and says, "Let him go." As Kankuro would be intimidated by this, and he'd let him go. So yeah, as Gaara would be sitting in the tree, and Naruto would just say, "You, why are you just sitting here while your friend just bullies little kids?" As Gaara would be a bit surprised that Naruto knew he was there, and she'd come out of the tree and say, "It doesn't matter to me, because he's only a waste of space in the end." And I see that same question to Tamari, and Tamari just see like, I don't know, why not? Even though I know that's not at all Tamari's personality, but I just wanted that to be there, not for any special reason other than I didn't think it through. But anyway, well, Naruto would just be Naruto would just be he would have let go of Konohamaru. Konohamaru would have hid behind Naruto. As Gaara would have still given Kankuro that same warning about him being a waste of space and he'll kill him. Naruto would look at Gaara strangely. He'd say, "You'd kill your own teammates?" As Gaara would say, "It doesn't matter if he's a teammate. Everyone else compared to me is just a waste of space. The only thing that matters to me is myself and mother." As Shikaku in his head would be saying, "Yes, that's right, Gaara. Only me and you matter. Everyone else is just an irrelevant waste of space." Scar would just have this weird smirk. Naruto says that logic is and so incredibly flawed it makes no sense. How is it that no one else matters? What about the people who make your food? What about the people who raise you? As as Gar would just say, they all did their jobs, and in the end, like I said before, they're a waste because they can no longer do their jobs. They have no jobs, so their life is meaningless. Naruto would just sigh and be like, "Yo, you keep thinking that." As Gara would just continue on, and he'd be a bit aggravated because one, Kankuro did something stupid. Two, Naruto was just completely undermining the authority of his so-called mother or Shikaku or whatever. So, yeah. Anyway, Naruto, well, he'd actually ask for Naruto's name because, well, he wants to know the person who he's gonna get revenge on for disrespecting Shikaku or his mother. You know how it is. Anyway, Naruto would tell him his name. Gar would say his name, and things would continue on as canon up until, well, actually, I might actually have to end this part off at the beginning of the Chunin exams. It's too hot, and no, I'm not recording at night like I usually do. It's like two, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's burning hot in here. So I'm gonna end it off at the beginning of the Chunin exams, which is right after this. So Naruto, Sakura goes to Kakashi. They have a meeting. Anyway, they'd go off have a meeting. Naruto and Naruto would actually be what? No, they'd actually be at the bridge. Kakashi would tell them about the tuning exam and everything. As Naruto would instantly agree because he knew he was stronger than most Jonin in the village, so he'd have nothing to worry about from the tuning exams. Sasuke would do it because he's arrogant Uchiha boy, and Sakura would do it because Sasuke did it. So yeah, and we'd skip to the fight with Rock Lee. Naruto would be known throughout the village for his strange techniques because he's gone on missions with the Jonin sensei before, like Asuma. So Asuma respects him. Kakashi respects him. Most of the Jonin respect him. Seeing as, well, the Chunin haven't don't know Naruto's power, they still do have no respect for him whatsoever. So yeah. Anyway, well, I'm not really sure why I had to include that, but yeah. Oh, that's right. So well, throughout the village, Naruto's strength would be known. Well, there'd be rumors about how strong Naruto actually is, but he just played weak in the academy because he'd stopped being an Anbu at age 10, I'm gonna say. So he just played weak in the academy, so the rumors died down, but they're still there. Rock Lee would have heard from Might Guy that Naruto is incredibly strong because Might Guy has a lot of respect for those who are strong. Though Might Guy would not tell Lee that Naruto was at that time around as strong as he was, not physically, but with well, not physically, but overall they were around the same strength. Due to Naruto not having discovered his ability to create any gun, Instead, he was creating basic guns like pistols and, well, small light machine guns. Not light machine guns. I mean like submachine guns. So yeah, he had only begun to use his Genkai. So yeah, at that time they were around the same strength. Because my guy, using a few of the gates, did have resistance to Naruto's bullets because he hadn't learned to enhance them yet. So yeah, they were around the same strength. But my guy didn't actually say this to Lee because he didn't want to discourage him. Instead, he just said that Naruto was strong, and he'd say strong enough to be compared to me. So Rock Lee would be excited. So he'd train even harder so he could fight Naruto one day, and today is that day. So he'd actually challenge both Sasuke and Naruto, but he challenged Sasuke first, knowing he was weaker, so he could have a good, scale on what to put Naruto on, because he knew the next strongest person compared to Naruto was, well, the weakest person, the strongest person under Naruto was Sasuke, at least out of the beginning, so he'd have something to compare himself to before he actually fought Naruto. So yeah, he'd fight Sasuke. He'd body him much easier than in canon, as in it'd be like one or two kicks and he's out. Like the first attack, he could use dynamic entry and Sasuke is out. So yeah, he basically does the dynamic entry on Sasuke and he's out. As he'd actually begin fighting with Naruto, Naruto would actually just be playing with him because Naruto's physical strength would be that of, well, let's say second gate Rock Lee. And Rock Lee can't use the gates, so Naruto would be playing with him. So Rock Lee would begin trying to fight with Naruto, but he'd be getting, well, pretty much messed around with. He's just deflecting his attacks, doing all these other things. And so Naruto would just, Naruto, instead of knocking him out because he knows Lee is holding back, he just decided to hold back to where he's only at Lee's level. So they'd have a pretty much even fight. So Naruto would just fight him, and well, Naruto would fight him. They'd have an even fight up until Lee would try to use the, I believe it was the Hidden Lotus. I don't think it was Primary Lotus. No, it was Primary Lotus. Lee would try to use the Primary Lotus. So Naruto would kick. Well, my guy would jump in and to use dynamic entry on Lee. He know this wouldn't hurt Naruto, but he still wouldn't let Lee use it unless he actually needed to. So yeah, and that's the end of that fight. And this is where I'm gonna leave it all. End it off. Hope you guys enjoyed. Anyway, I should be back soon. I should be back to uploading normally soon. Well, peace out. Joe Lasco Waters here. See you guys later.